Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Raise Your Bars podcast. I'm Al Rattan, along with my good friend Chris Baker, fresh back from a visit across the pond. How are you, my friend?
Well, fresh as in recently back, maybe not so fresh in terms of energy. Traveling takes it out of you, as you will experience again in a week or so yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. That
Yeah,
that time change really takes effect and
it does.
messes
does.
up the system a little bit for sure.
It does.
I know when I arrive in Paris in 2 weeks, I fly so I leave here at noon my time and I arrive the following day at 8:50 a.m. their time.
Right.
So with the 7-hour time change in there
Hmm.
and traveling all night, um, and so then the goal is to try and stay
Stay
awake
up. Yeah,
all
yeah,
that day,
yeah,
and then so you can sleep that night and try to
yeah.
read. But yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. The joys of travel, but we're fortunate we're able to get
Hey,
to do that sort of
absolutely.
thing, and
Yeah.
so we're back for this next episode of the podcast, and we wrapped up last week with our leadership lessons from Ted Lasso series. If you haven't heard that, go back and listen to it. I think there's 7, 8 episodes.
No, I think there's 9.
9.
I think there was
Wow.
9 plus the intro, so 10 all in all.
Oh wow, excellent. Well, there you go. I think I know we're saying this ourselves, but I think it was pretty good.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and I know you'll get lots of value out of if you go listen to it. And today we've got a podcast title. We're gonna talk about the chain reaction, and it's really how micro behaviors can shape
Mm.
macro success. Now, we all know bars. If you haven't tuned in before, BAR stands for our behaviors plus actions equals our results and success, right? What potential behaviors and actions do you need to change in order to get the results and success that you want
Mhm.
out of life and in the future? So basically, the main theme of this podcast, we want to talk really about how these small daily behavioral changes and actions that we can put into place can actually propel us towards success, or by not doing it, potentially hold us back. And really, Chris and I have been on this personal growth journey for a number of years now, and we both try to take daily action.
Mhm.
And again, we're not measuring ourselves or comparing ourselves to each other or other people out there. We're comparing ourselves to us yesterday, right? And what do
Yeah.
I need to change today so I can become who I need to be tomorrow to better serve our audience and our clients? So that's really what we're talking about today.
Yeah. And Robin Sharma in I mean, Al, you the 5 a.m. Club is one of your favorite books, right? And
Yeah,
I,
absolutely.
I I can't remember the exact saying, but it was something like the small things repeated consistently over time generate massive
Absolutely.
results, right? And
Well,
so
even
it's yeah,
I was going to
it,
say, even Earl Nightingale says, to become a master in something, spend an hour a day on it for 5 years, and you'll become an expert in that,
yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah, because that's doing like the 10,000 hours or whatever, right? Is
Exactly.
you do those 10,000 hours. So,
Yeah.
the first point that we've got on here is the science of habits. And the the neuroscience behind habits is that habits are like shortcuts that our brain creates to save energy. All right. So again, imagine your brain is a computer, and the first time you do something new, it's like running a new program.
Mhm.
Takes a lot of effort. But if you keep doing it, the brain starts to recognize a pattern. It's, we often referred to as muscle memory, right? And
Exactly.
over
Yeah.
time, this action becomes automatic, like a computer saving a frequently used program to its desktop for easy access.
Mhm.
It doesn't ask you to do it, it just does it. And the
Yep.
process happens in a part of our brain called the basal ganglia. And it's like the brain's autopilot mode. So when we repeatedly do something, our brain shifts into this autopilot section, making it a habit. And
Mhm.
that's why habits, either good or bad, can be hard to break. Now,
Exactly.
again, let's pause there, because an intentional habit is basically then becomes a good habit. An
Right.
unintentional habit is probably a bad habit, right?
Yeah.
Because we're
Yeah.
not we're not thinking about what we're doing and why we're doing it. So
Exactly. Yes.
it's basically it's our brain's way of being efficient.
Mhm.
And I think I've shared before an example that go back to, I think it was 2004, when there's an English or British hypnotist called Paul McKenna, and he was one of the first personal growth books that I read at the time. I can't tell you what it's called now, to be honest. I can't remember, but there was a book and then there was a CD that came with it, and you would work through things. And he would talk about habits. And one of those things, he was talking about how you do something consistently for like 21 days and it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
The science actually says that the actual average is about 66 days, because some depends on the size of the habit that you're trying to create, right? And so I was like, I'm going to put this to the test. And so it sounds silly, right? But it was just a way of proving this. I'm very, I think I talk about this in my book as well. I'm very right side dominant. So I write right-handed. I play football right-footed. I can use my left foot of football, but I can't write with my left hand whatsoever, right?
No.
It would be terrible. So I decided that my experiment was going to be that when I get ready in the morning, I was going to put my left sock on before my right sock, and then put my left shoe on before my right shoe. Right. And I did this, and I carried on, and what Paul McKenna said is if you miss a day, pretty much like when we were doing reading a chapter on persistent in Think and Grow Rich, right? You miss a day, you basically start again at day one. And you do this. And I did this, I actually did it for 27 days just to prove the theory. And I can tell you that it'd be 20 years next year later. I still do it I still put my left sock on before my right sock, and my left shoe before my right shoe.
Wow.
It's just a habit now.
Yeah.
I don't even have to think about it. All right. So you can create habits. No matter how big or small, you can create them.
And like we said before, they're either positive or negative, right? So you got to be careful what you're starting to create. I know when I smoked for 20 years, Chris, that was a bad habit, right?
Yep.
And it became an addiction, obviously. Rewires the brain. You think you're craving it, right? You think, and it came to the point where if I didn't have one every hour or so, and I was a pack a day smoker for 20 years, smoke free for about, I don't know, 8 to 12 now. I don't even know, but a long time, long time. When I started thinking about it, it's like, oh, wait a minute, it's been about an hour. Automatically, my brain would start going, oh, I need to have a cigarette. I need to have
reach for the packet. Yeah,
reach for the back.
Yeah.
And that's negative habits. So the same thing, right? It depends which way we're forming the habits. So the sort of the second thing we want to talk about today on the chain reaction is the power of consistency. Right? It's such a great thing. I mean, persistent and consistent. We always tell everyone you need to be persistent and consistent. And even if you look at the example of compound interest on something, right? If you I can't remember the exact numbers, and if you're a financial planner out there, don't send me an email how wrong I was. This is just from what I remember an example. It was something about along the lines of if you started saving something like $1,000 a year at the age of 20 to the age of 30, it would compound interest to have like X number of dollars, like well over $1 million by the time you're 65, and you only need to do it for 10 years.
Right.
But if you started 2 or 3 years later at $1,000 a year, you'd have to do it for the rest of your life, or until you're at age 55 or 60, something like that, to equal or get close to the same amount of money. That extra couple of years and compound interest made that much of a difference. And the same thing is with and whether that's fully accurate or not, sorry folks, I don't know, but I'm saying that it just shows being consistent, right? If you miss it, what could potentially happen? So I think that that compound interest in personal development, being consistent on your own personal growth and development, those small consistent actions over time can have incredible results. Incredible results.
And it takes a while to build up these habits, right, and be consistent with it. I mean, consistency obviously is time and time over again. It takes a long time to build that, but it takes a very short amount of time to like knock it down again, right? And then you start from ground zero, right? And you have to like build that consistency again. And again, it reminds me of Think and Grow Rich and the persistence, the chapter on persistence, right? Um,
Absolutely.
once you've done it for a while, it's like, again, if when I talk to people about, well, no, let's give another example, right? Probably 2018-ish, I was writing my books and stuff, and I decided to do journaling, right? And journaling doesn't come naturally to me. It's
Yeah.
not something I've done, but enough people were telling me about it, and personal growth leaders and so on. And I think even Drew in our study on Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
Um, so I decided I was going to do a journal. So I bought like an A5 size journal, and I set out and said, I'm going to handwrite 2 pages every day, right? And just like, what am I grateful for? What happened? What did I learn? Good and bad, right? And what sort of did I want to achieve tomorrow? Right. So I got to a point where my first hour of the day, so that 20 from the 5 a.m. club, right? I
Mhm.
would do my sort of meditation, I would do some exercises, and I would do my journal.
Really? Yeah.
And I did that, and I maintained it for a year. Right. It was hard to start with, because it was like, "Oh, really, I don't know what to put."
Yeah.
Right. It's like when you do a gratitude, like, what am I grateful for? Well,
Yeah.
just keep working on it, right? And after a while, it just became that habit that I was like, nope, I do this every day, all right,
Mm.
and I do it. And I've got that journal, and sometimes I'll look back at it, and I'll go through it. But again, I stopped doing it after a year, and then to get back into it was really tough.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It almost seems harder to go back again and try
Yeah,
again, right? Maybe it's
yeah,
probably there's a little bit of our mental attitude, which we're going to talk about our next point here, but
right,
beating ourselves up for giving up in the first place. Now, just this whole conversation reminds me of a quote Tony Robbins said. He goes, "It's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives. It's what we do consistently."
right,
So, anything, if you want that change, if you're looking for that change in your life, in your career, in your marriage, positive actions consistently, positive step forwards consistently over time will make that massive difference.
yeah. Yeah, and this is the next point, is mindset and behavior. And again, behavior is the start of our bars method.
Mhm.
And it does take a change in mindset, a shift to start this, right? Because again, we've got ingrained to us in our subconscious mind whatever's been put in there over the last 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? And all of that is based off what we've been told, or what we've experienced, or what we've told isn't necessarily the truth, but our subconscious mind believes it, right? And so we need to shift our mindset. We need to move away from a fixed mindset and shift towards a growth mindset.
Mhm.
And that will influence our actions. So again, the behaviors plus our actions will equal our results and success. So we have to start with our behaviors, and that has to be a choice, and it has to be intentional. We've talked before about, are you living your life by design or default,
Exactly.
right?
I think that's where discipline also comes into this, because it's
Oh,
very easy. I
huge.
get it. You come home from work, you're tired, you sit down, you eat dinner,
Hmm.
you sit down on the couch. It's very easy to grab that remote control and turn on Netflix.
Sure.
It's very challenging to get back up off of that couch, grab your book,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
listen to a podcast on personal growth and development, grab your journal and start writing.
Hmm.
It's that takes discipline. You have to
Yeah.
force yourself to do it. Once you start, it's not so bad. It's the thought process of getting started that I think
Right.
defeats a lot of people before they even get going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And the fixed mindset is just believing what's in front of you, right? Or what you've been told, or
right.
accepting that this is as good as it's going to get, right? Whereas a growth mindset is the continuous improvement, right? We're striving for excellence. We're
Yeah.
always looking to
What
be
could
better.
what could be instead of what is, right? Not looking at our current circumstances and falling
Exactly.
what
Yeah.
they're. Yeah, okay, this is great.
Yeah.
Really good. Okay. Our next point is external influences on our behavior. So, our environment What are we allowing? What are we taking in? Right? What is our peer group like? What kind of media are we
Yeah.
consuming? This can all influence our behavior. I don't know about you. The minute I look at the news, I get my anxiety level goes up. I get
Mhm.
depressed, frustrated. And I'm not saying we need to stick our head in the sands and ignore everything that's going around us. We need to be aware. But at the same time, how much are you consuming? You have control over what app you open, what channel you're on, right? and who you hang around with.
Yeah.
And if it we need to be careful of what we're allowing to in through our eyes and our ears, is what I'm trying to say here, because this will
Yeah.
influence our behavior. If you're
Mhm.
listening to the negative in the world out there right now, then guess what? That mindset is going to be a negative mindset in all areas of your life. And you're going to think your job's horrible, your marriage is awful, your kids are acting up, and everything else is out, the world's out to get you. Or you're around positive people that are going to uplift and encourage you, and sometimes that even, right, John Maxwell talks about it in the 21 laws of growth and the law of the inner circle. Who are we allowing into our inner circle? And may even
Yeah.
require removing somebody, even a family member, from your inner circle, because they're that constant negative influence on you.
Yeah. No, 100%. And it is choosing. Jim Rohn says we become the average of the 5 people we associate with the most, right? And so it's true. And you can, if you allow yourself to be embroiled in that negativity, you will become negative, right? It's like if you get a bucket full of apples and you got really nice juicy red apples, but you put one rotten one in there, the next day half of that bucket will be rotten, right? The
Yeah.
next day they'll all be rotten. It's as quick as that.
Yeah.
Now it takes intention to actually break away from that, right? It takes intention to be positive, because that's harder work. Again, it's the weeds and the flower scenario, right?
Yes.
Weeds grow really quickly and everywhere, all right, without you doing anything.
Mhm.
But if you want to nurture that garden and make a beautiful garden, you have to consistently be pulling the weeds out. You have to be feeding the soil, nurturing the plants, watering them, and really taking care of them and being intentional about it to keep those plants nice and the flowers bright. As soon as
We
you stop, the
we
weeds come back.
I'll tell you, my lawn this year, we had a very, like, July, I think we had 1 day of rain the entire July. August was also equally dry.
Mhm,
And my lawn, um, the grass, which is actually technically a weed, but it wouldn't grow.
mhm.
I had weeds that were flourishing through my lawn this year
Yeah,
and
yeah,
growing like tall, quickly,
right.
with no water. The grass
Yeah,
couldn't survive, but the weeds definitely took over. They were
yeah,
taking water, what moisture there was out of the
yeah.
soil. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think strategies to basically curate a positive environment, as I'm thinking about it, is, again, I think that gratitude diary, right? And just that reflection, self-reflection,
Mhm.
and being honest with yourself, increasing the awareness of who is around you, what are you listening to, or who you're paying attention to,
Mhm.
what are you saying, right, about yourself and about other people. And sometimes when we do that, and when I was writing my book and stuff, some of the things that I thought about, I was like, I'm not proud of this,
Mhm.
but I still put things in the book that I wasn't proud of, because I wanted to share with people that, hey, just because this is the situation you're in, it doesn't mean you have to stay there.
Exactly.
Right? We are responsible for our own futures, for our own destiny.
Mhm.
And so because of that, it means we have to be accountable to ourselves for it, and we have to do something about it. And that involves seeking help, right? And seeking help is a positive, and it's a strength. And
That
we've both done that. We continue to do that, right?
that
With each other and with other people that we work with. And I tell you, through as well, through actually teaching personal growth and leadership, it actually elevates your own performance and mindset and thought processes, right? Because you're reinforcing these behaviors.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So behavioral pitfalls. There are. It's again. It's so easy to fall in the trap, right? And the trap that would take us down, that trap door on the stage, or it's really the one of the pitfalls is the fact that we live in what I call a microwave society, right, where we all want instant gratification, and if we don't get that, the tendency is to give up, right,
Exactly.
because we tell ourselves it's too hot.
Yep.
You know, the other flip side of that is procrastination. It's the Monday diet, right?
Right.
You know, I need to lose weight. I'm going to start on Monday.
Mhm.
Um, oh, yeah, no, this Monday doesn't work because I'm going out with some friends for a meal. So, well, I can't start it midweek, so let's start it the following Monday,
Yep.
right? And then that Monday is like, well, now it's mid-month. I might as well wait till the beginning of the month. And so we're always um, putting off that.
Yep.
And why is that, right? To me, one of the reasons, the main reason we talk about it in the ghost goal setting, but one of the reasons is that what you're looking to achieve doesn't mean enough to you. Because
Yeah.
if it did, you wouldn't be as susceptible to these pitfalls, right? Because again, Think and Grow Rich, that desire is going to take you through it.
Exactly. And Curtis, who is our health and wellness coach in our Raise Your Bars Legacy Creators program, he talks about when he's onboarding new people to his fitness facility, they ask why up to 5 times, right? I wanted this. Well, I want to lose weight. Why? Well, I feel like I have low energy. Okay, why do you need more energy? Well, I have grandkids. Oh, why? Why do you want to have more energy for your grandkids? Well, I really want to play with my grandkids, and I want to have energy to play with my grandkids. Okay, that gets us to a little bit more of the root reason,
Yeah.
and then we keep that before you. Okay, it's not that I just want to lose weight. I want to lose weight so I can actually actively play with my grandkids, and that's important to me. That's
Mhm.
going to the fuel and the fire to move forward when you don't feel like getting up and going to the gym. You have
Yeah.
to remember that why. And I think a lot of us don't we look at the surface, and that's not enough of a purpose
Yeah.
at times, right? Chris and I
Yeah.
could have folks, Chris and I could have given up 100 times in our little partnership working together here,
Yeah.
building programs easily,
Yeah.
but we're here. We're still here.
Well, and funny enough, I was talking on a call earlier, Alan, and Alvaro asked me how we were doing, and you know how we getting on with stuff, and I said, you know what, we still do our podcast, we still will put things on Facebook and stuff because we enjoy it, right? And it teaches us things too, right?
Mhm.
And if at the end of the day, if we help one person, we've added value to somebody, right?
Yeah.
We've made a difference.
Yeah.
And at some point, that person will make a difference to someone else, you know, and we might make a difference to someone. And
Yeah.
eventually that goes back to that consistency, right? And the compounding of that
Mhm.
will produce those results. But at the end of the day, we are delivering or displaying those behaviors and the actions
That we're
that
encouraging.
ultimately will produce results and success. And even at the moment, the results and success is that we've got amazing friendship. We're both growing personally and professionally through the conversations that we have.
Absolutely.
Um, and again, to me, that's success.
I would even add that, and we've shown that consistency because if we look back, I think we've been doing the podcast for over a year together
Mhm.
now, and I think maybe we've missed not even a handful of times, and
Yeah,
just because of scheduling and,
yeah,
and vacations and stuff like that. So, consistent, set aside the distractions. If you know you're easily distracted by something, then turn it away, put it on
right.
hold. That sort of takes us to, our sort of a last point that we want to talk about tonight, and that's really the practical steps to align your behaviors with your goals, right? What behaviors and actions do you need to change to get that results and success, and really
Yeah,
setting those clear goals. And Chris talked about it earlier, ghost goal setting, and we use that. Some people use SMART goals, but do something. And the
mhm.
most important thing you can do is put pen to paper and map it out, write
Oh
it
yeah,
down, clear. Why do I want this? What is it going to feel like to achieve this?
Mm-hmm.
What are the steps I need to take? What tools do I need to get in place? How do I need to prepare myself to get these goals achieved? And then start doing daily steps to
Mm-hmm.
working towards your goal.
Yeah, I think one of the one of the important things with a goal as well is that you need to share it with somebody that you trust, right? Somebody
Great point.
that again, it then puts it out into the universe, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, understanding as well that by doing that, you are not accountable to that person, right? When people talk about accountability partners, they go, "Oh no, I'm accountable to you because I've told you about it." No, you're not. You're accountable to yourself because it's your goal,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, again, if you are leaders out there and you've got you've got teams, or if you're parents that have got kids, and you're looking for them to achieve something as a leader, you're not accountable then, or they're not accountable to you, and you're not accountable for their actions. However, you are responsible for
Mm-hmm.
what they achieve, right? But
Mm-hmm.
they are accountable to themselves,
Absolutely.
because if you don't have accountability, you don't have any skin in the game, you're probably not going to be successful, right, in what it is that you're looking to achieve. So definitely share that goal with somebody. Use that as check-ins, right? So they check in with you. Hey, how you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Anything you need, anything, what are you experiencing? How is it going? That's the mentor type relationship, really, but it's your goal. You own it.
Yep.
And somebody said to me today, we were talking about, I'm talking about developing them as a leader and looking at their next step. And I said, what do you see your next step as,
Mm.
right, within the company? And they said, well, I'd like to know where the company sees my next step. Right, so you're looking at it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you allow the company to determine your next step, it's not necessarily in your best interests.
Yeah, you could end up sweeping the floor.
Right. Yeah. So I used the similar thing to what you were saying. I said, well, think forward like 15 years. Where do you want to be? All right.
Mhm.
What does your life look and feel like? What sort of job are you doing? What impact are you doing? Why is that important to you? Who's in your life? Where do you live? Describe it all in as much detail as you can. And what does it feel like to be living that? And what does it feel like to be making the impact you're doing?
Yeah.
Then you bring it back to go, okay, what's my next step to get me there?
Mhm.
All
Mhm.
right. What's my next step? And
And
how am
that's
I going to get there?
yeah, and that's the only thing you really need to focus on now is what is the next step. And
Correct.
once the next step is taken, then what is the next step to get you to that ultimate goal? Okay,
Yeah.
so we definitely would have went a little longer than we normally do, but
We did.
great topic tonight, great conversation, Chris. I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Yeah.
And so I guess maybe a takeaway for anybody, an assignment, so to speak. Uh, we've got 3 months left in this year. What is one thing that maybe you set out to achieve in January that maybe it's fallen off track?
Hmm.
Maybe bring up that, identify it again, write it down, get somebody to hold you accountable to that, and start working towards that and see what kind of progress you can make towards that goal in the last 3 months of the year. And
Yeah.
maybe, just maybe, you could even achieve that goal yet this year. So
Absolutely.
do that. Go do that. And you folks, you know what? Follow us on social media. If you go to Facebook, we have Raise Your Bars Personal Growth Solutions Facebook group. We have Raise Your Bars Business Growth Facebook group. And if you're a man over 40, Raise Your Bars Legacy Creators, brand new program, brand new group. We're just ready to launch that soon. But we'd love to join you on Facebook for now, and we
Hmm.
will see you there. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning
Absolutely.
in. Have an amazing day.